5 of the most powerful things you'd recommend for our people, our agents, our partners that we care about. What are those things that they could do to make things happen for them in 2020?
Yeah, great question. And the first and foremost thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you, Maher, first for this opportunity and this forum and this venue. And I'll tell you, it's been a great partnership already, and I'm truly excited about what's to come. I hope people will be able to get out to the live events and experience what we've already done with one of our events that people are still talking about, and it was 2.5 months ago. So I hope people can come out for the Army of Ambassadors tour and play the referral game with me. And that's really what we talk about, is the referral game, and you know, play and win, and then also play to win. And that's what we want to do with the new year. It's 2020. Hopefully you have 2020 vision. We all know hindsight is 2020. In this case, we want perfect clarity with what we need to do. So happy new year, happy new you. And the first thing that we have to do is we need to get straight on the difference between activity goals and results goals. Realtors are setting volume goals, have already set volume goals. They've set transaction goals. They've set all kinds of results goals. They might have even done vision boards. I am going to get the 2020 Corvette when I earn 6 figures, or whatever it may be. All of those are results goals. The vision board is a result. That is a result of your activities. And the very first thing, and I have to tell you, this was a life-changing piece of advice that I got 20 years ago, is, all right, you set your results goals, that's fine. But what we need to do is we need to set activity goals. And results goals are 100 transactions, 100,000 in earnings, 100 million in volume. Those are all results goals. Activities goals are 20 calls a day, 100 calls a day. It's 20 handwritten notes a week. It's 3 events a year and 20 events invites per day. And I have to tell you, is you wanted the 5 things we should do. The first thing we should do is take our results goals and convert those to activity goals. What are the activities that are going to get us the results? A lot of people know that I talk about these 3 cycles. I talk about the cycle of discontent, which is typical sales. It's chase. The person either fights or flees. And if they flee, we're taught to chase more until we finally get them cornered, so they have to fight. And if you have a fight, they work with us. And in a fight, you don't call it collaborative, you call it a battle. And the 2 are butting heads. And at the end of a battle, how do the 2 people feel? They both feel exhausted and frustrated. How likely is that person we just had a battle with to refer us? And the answer is they're not going to refer us, so we got to go chase some more. And that's the chase cycle. Well, the flip side of the chase cycle, if there's a negative, there must be a positive, is the referral cycle. The referral cycle is we get somebody that's referred to us, we tell them the truth. That's right, the truth. We're going to tell them the nuclear case truth. And then we are going to do our job. And when we do our job, when we tell them the truth, when we do our job, they are wowed. And what do wowed clients do? They refer us more people. So it's on the referral cycle. Referral, truth, wow. Referral, truth, wow. And I have to tell you that if you're not doing buyer's consultations for your buyers and for your sellers who are going to buy, you're missing out on a terrific opportunity to underpromise and over-deliver. When you under-promise, you just do your job and you deliver, which is a very important job, and you wow people. So buyer's consultation needs to be on the list somewhere. But here's the thing, how many people want more people in the referral cycle? Well, everybody does. It's simpler, it's shorter, it's faster. You don't have to sell at all. Well, the way to get people on the referral cycle is to look at this like a bicycle, and that is 2 cycle. So look at it a bike, and it truly is as easy as riding a bike. The front wheel, the front cycle is the referral cycle. Keep your eyes on that front. Use the referral cycle as your guide. In fact, look at everything you're doing and say, does it give us more referrals? If it doesn't get you more referrals, if it doesn't feel good, if it's more likely to end up discontented, then don't do it. But here's the thing, keep your eyes on the referral cycle. But the thing is we also have a back wheel to this bicycle. And the back wheel on a bicycle is where we put our energy. When you pedal, the energy goes into the back wheel. And to get more people on the referral cycle, we need to understand the generosity cycle. We're calling this Generosity January. Well, here's the deal. Generosity cycle goes like this. You give massive value first. You act in generosity. Generosity is love in action. Put your superpower in action. Love in action. You're going to do something that's generous. You're going to help out another. What's going to happen is it's going to cause reciprocation. So there's going to be a reciprocity that kicks in from generosity. When the reciprocity comes in, we need to understand and we need to train our community that the best way to reciprocate my generosity is through referrals, not dinners, not help, not volunteering, not hanging out with me, it is referrals. We need to teach and train our army of ambassadors that the way to give back when I give value to you is in the form of referrals. It's another lesson for another day right there. Referrals. So when you get referrals, we understand something, that when you get referrals, it is the most profitable type of business. You're going to make a lot of money. In fact, the taxes are going to become one of your biggest challenges. Trust me on that. So then you're going to have profitability. Well, profitability is your business having money, which is great. That's why you're in business. And you're like, no, I was in business to help people. No, you can help people no matter what. You're in business to make a profit. So let's get that squared away right now. But your business making a profit leads to something that is even more important. What's more important than your business having money? Well, it's freedom, it's choices, it's family, it's health, it's God, it's whatever it may be for you. And there's something more important than profitability, and it is prosperity. Freedom, choices, health, balance, all of those other things wrap into one word called prosperity. Prosperity leads to more generosity. And ladies and gentlemen, there is the generosity cycle. Generosity leads to reciprocity. Reciprocity leads to referrals. Referrals lead to profitability. Profitability leads to prosperity. But here's the cool thing. This isn't just a cycle or a circle. This is a helix. This is an upward spiral, because your generosity going all the way to prosperity, well, your prosperity is higher and more powerful, which leads to higher and more powerful generosity, which leads to higher and more powerful reciprocity, which leads to higher and more powerful referrals, which leads to higher and more powerful profitability, which leads to higher and more powerful prosperity. So right off the get-go, we need to understand how this links to activity goals versus results goals. Referrals are the results. You want to set 100 referrals or a 500 referral goal, you have to realize that's a result. What we have to do is we have to get into the activities goal. And ladies and gentlemen, the activity that will win this year for you is generosity. Generosity is the activity. Seek to give massive value first everywhere you go, and then the reciprocity will kick in, the referrals will kick in, the profitability will rise, the prosperity will rise, and you will be able to build your business on love, generosity, and appreciation. So the first thing is activities goals versus results goals. But what activities do I do? We do activities that are aligned with generosity. We don't call it lead generation. You don't do an hour of lead generation. You do an hour of generosity generation. You don't do lead generation because nobody wants to be a lead, and you don't want to do lead generation. You don't even want to get a lead. You know, what you want to do is you want to have a business that's a lot of fun to do. And here's the thing, don't do lead generation, do 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of generosity generation. You're going to generate generosity and you're going to generate business through generosity. And doesn't that feel great? Because you're 100% in control of that.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. I totally, and that's the call. Thanks for everybody being on.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't even know I was going to go on that tangent, but I felt like somebody really needed to hear it.
By the way, you circle the circle of generosity. That's incredible. And one of the things that we had talked about a couple of days ago when we were talking about this call was the January call. Can you kind of give everybody that tactic of the January call?
So you mean the January call, right? So
the January call, absolutely.
Yeah, the January call, right? And I have to tell you, the highlight of my mornings are the January calls, right? And the January call is a generosity call. We used to call it the generosity call, but people found that the best time to implement the generosity call was December, January, or February. And what this call does is we're looking for ways to give value to the other person. Well, how do we know how we can help? Is we got to ask them. So the January call is just scripted questions that are very easy to have, right? It's just like, hey, did you make a New Year's resolution? Did you make a New Year's do you believe in New Year's? You know what? Who wants to play with me? I'll just do the call right now with one of you, whoever wants to play.
I'm going to nominate Mark Jones. Mark, you're up.
Nice. Thank you for volunteering, Mark. That was fantastic. I love how this works.
And before we start, I have to tell you, your metaphor of a helix versus a circle, oh my gosh, that hit me between the eyes. It is up and up and up. That's wonderful.
Yeah. It's higher and more powerful at every point. And
Yep.
and that's what life is. Like, you can get the generosity cycle is the cycle of life, in my opinion, not just business, but it's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So Mark, I appreciate your time. Hey, I just want to take 2 to 3 minutes here. Do you have 2 to 3 minutes to just talk about 2020 in general? It's not necessarily about business or anything like that, but just about 2020.
Sure.
Did you happen to make a New Year's resolution by any chance?
A couple of them, actually, yeah.
So you believe in New Year's resolutions. I love that. So what are a couple of your New Year's resolutions?
Well, a lot of them are always the same. It's always, I need to lose a little bit of weight, and I need to take a little more time off, and spend more time with my family. The typical things.
Yeah.
I think the one that's different this year is I want to read at least one book per month.
Okay, so 12 books this year. I love that. Any books that you have in mind?
Actually, I've already started down it, and a couple of them, Shoe Dog, which is the story of Phil Knight. I've already finished that one, love it, and the one that Disney CEO Bob Iger, his book, Amazing Ride or something like that. Listen to both of them; they're amazing.
I love it. Great. And do you have one down the road that you're going to read that you haven't bought yet?
Yeah, the next one up on my list is the one by goodness, I can't remember the author. Anyway, it's about self-mastery. It's about Is it Leadership and Self-Deception? Would that be it? Yes, that's it.
Okay, great book. Very good book. It'll make you look at leadership differently than ever before. That's a very good book. And you've already read 7L, so you don't need to read that again, right?
I have.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify for the audience. So any big plans or goals for this year? Like anything that's really top of mind as far as either a personal or professional goal this year?
Well, the professional goal is to hit $2 billion in originations for the company for the first time ever.
I love it. 2 billion, big goal. That's with a B, yeah?
Yes, it is.
So any big trips or vacations? You had mentioned that you were going to spend more time with the family and looking to balance that kind of thing out.
Yeah, my wife and I are going to take a cruise with my in-laws throughout southern France and in Italy.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So is that the Mediterranean cruise, or is it just like you're traveling on ground?
We're going to cruise. We're starting Rome. We're going to go up to the French Riviera and then back to Rome, and then take a side trip to Sicily, which is where my mother-in-law's father was born, and seek out his birth home.
Wow. That have you been there before yourself?
We've been to Italy before, but not to Sicily.
Okay. And southern France sounds gorgeous. When are you going?
Late August.
Okay. Very good. So do you have a bucket list by any chance? I mean, it sounds like a bucket list trip right there. Do you have a bucket list? Do you have things on your bucket list?
I do.
Yeah. What are a couple of cool things on your bucket list?
Great Wall of China,
Yeah.
Thailand, African safari. Those are the three that come to mind right away. Australia.
There you go. Very cool. It sounds like travel is a big part of your bucket list.
Yes.
Yeah.
See
So
the world.
skydiving, I didn't hear that.
No.
Yeah. Jumping off a tall building with a bungee cord. I didn't hear that.
See no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Hiking Mount Everest. I didn't hear that.
No.
So here's what I'm getting out of this. You're an extremely smart person. I just want you to know that. So I love that. So, what, looking at 2020, like what is a project that is most exciting to you, or what are you most looking forward to this year?
This is the first year that I've had an incredible leadership team in place in certain key roles. A couple of them are on this call with us today. We just recently hired a new CFO, and so I'm really excited to have the right team in place to really catapult our company to the next level.
I love it. Is there a project or something you're doing differently this year, other than the leadership team, that is really exciting to you, or something you're really kind of looking forward to see the results of?
Yeah, we're making a huge focus on the customer experience on how technology interacts with the customer, not as a replacement for the human piece, but for an accelerator of it.
As a communication piece, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, love that. And so what is your biggest challenge right now?
I'd say twofold. On the employee front, with unemployment where it is, hiring and retaining talent, particularly in the middle level jobs, is tough for any organization right now. I think that's probably the one challenge, and the second one is really keeping the growth to an achievable level, not growing too fast, in other words.
So let's talk on the recruiting and retention side of things, is keeping great people. Boy, that's the biggest, and I love that was one of your biggest challenges in your leadership position. You know, some people are always eye on the numbers, eye on the income, the revenue, things like that. And I love that we understand that our team is our client number one, you know? So what have you tried so far for that recruiting and retention?
Well, in the retention piece, this has been an ongoing process for years and years, and that's creating a culture that people, when they're here, love, and to a point where they would not consider going elsewhere because the culture is so good, both from a personality standpoint and from the ability to execute standpoint. If you create that, then the retention becomes less of a problem, and then those folks are also your best recruiting force, because you hear things like, "I've never worked at a place that's this awesome," and that helps your recruiting. So that working on honing that and getting that better and better is what we focus on a lot.
And I have to tell you, I heard through the rumor mill, you talk about your employees becoming your best recruiting source. Is just a couple of weeks ago, you had one of the top producers in the entire country tell your LOs how to approach a top producer, by a top producer. And I don't know of any mortgage companies that are doing so much educational standpoint and building this culture of education and growth for their LOs. I love that you went straight to a top producer to find out, how do you approach a top producer? Well, you can learn all the time from some trainer or teacher who honestly has never thought it, done it, but you went straight to a top producer and said, to get my business, here's how you're going to have to do it. I love that. I love that. So,
And to clarify, the challenge part of, because you asked me what the challenge was, is as you grow as a company, maintain that culture becomes something that's tougher and tougher. So you have to work on it every single day, or just like bathing. If you don't bathe every day, pretty soon you start to stink.
Yeah, I think Zig Ziglar once said, somebody came up and said something about, motivation. It's like, what is all this stuff about motivation and stuff like that? And Zig Ziglar was like, well, motivation is like bathing. You need to do it every day,
Yeah.
So what are you going to do next to conquer this challenge of, recruiting and retention? Like what's a metric, or what's a strategy or tactic that you're going to do next?
One of the things that Dave and I are going to do is put together a bi-monthly video results and then kind of interviews employees throughout the organization to kind of share the culture between the groups to create a communication tool that's very workmanlike and
I love it.
effective.
And so by when is this? When does this take?
February is going to be our inaugural launch of that.
I love it. I love it. That sounds awesome. Sounds like you're well in tune with conquering this challenge. I love that. So who is the most successful person like somebody that that I should know? Like who would you go to learn about growth or get business advice? I'm always looking to meet successful people like yourself. Who's somebody that that I should know, or you'd be open to introducing me to? And I have to tell you, it would be interview style. I'm not going to sell anybody on anything. I'm just going to do kind of the same thing I did here and just ask questions and find out more about them and honestly find out how I can help them. And when we meet, I'm very open to talking about you or you telling me how I can make that other meeting the biggest win for you. So is there somebody that comes to mind?
In the business or outside of the business?
You know what? Just somebody you would go to for advice, somebody super successful, like yourself, or somebody you would go to and just bounce an idea off of.
That's an interesting question. A lot of them are on this call right now.
Let's say they weren't on the call. Let's say somebody outside of the call, because it would be really hard to pick from the four and then the other three would be upset. So it's all good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there's a couple people in town that run some of the bigger companies here locally. Stryker Corporation is run by a gentleman who I know, and if I had a big national type question, I would approach him. Kevin Lobo is the name. A couple of retired Upjohn executives that I know personally that I would approach. Those are the folks that I would go to locally.
I love that. Are you open to making the introduction between myself and them?
Sure.
That'd be awesome. I'm always looking to grow, always looking to learn, and what I've discovered is just learn from successful people, and learn how to grow and rise myself, and I love that. So, I would be remiss if I did not invite you to an event that we're doing in March in California. We're doing March 3rd, 2020. Not sure of the location yet, but I'll get you more information if you're okay with that. Would you be interested in maybe coming out to one of our events?
Sure.
Awesome. So that sounds great. I appreciate your time. Mark, any questions for me before I let you go?
Nope. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Appreciate your time and have a great one. So we'll clickety-click there like the phone hung up. And I know that the listeners had a struggle paying attention through that whole point. And I hope they didn't lose the value of watching that call take place. So that's the generosity call. That's the January call.
Let me put a pause on that. I think I see Doug wants to say something. I'll have you jump in. But first of all, that was incredible. I'm going to replay that. I took about 3 pages of notes. It was the example for everyone on the call to make. And I learned a lot as well, just listening to Mark. And Mark, by the way, thank you for being very transparent. That was honest, and that's much appreciated by everybody. So I would just suggest right now that at this point, because we've covered so much content, and Doug, jump in after this, but Craig, could you check the queue to see if we have some Q&A to people to hit us on number 1 and 2 right now while Doug asks this next question? So
yeah, just thanks, Ron. Hey, Michael, just real quick, can you kind of just really quick go through the questions, because you do abbreviations really quick, so everybody can write it down on their page.
Yeah, first and foremost, I have no problem giving people access to this form. I use this form every day. And you can go to referrallibrary.com. So referral, REFERRAL, library, that's another L next to an L, so be careful to that. Library, LIBRARY. So what I try to do is put 2 of the most difficult words to spell back to back. So you really have to be careful with your spelling with both of those. And library has an R after the B. But here's the thing, is the January call is, did you make a New Year's resolution, or do you believe in resolutions? And you can even get an update if it's at the end of January. Any big plans or goals for this year is number 2. Number 3, any big trips or vacations planned this year. Number 4, do you have a bucket list? Or if you don't have a bucket list, like what's one thing that would go on a bucket list if you had one? Are you, as you look at the year ahead, this is number 5, what are you most looking forward to? What's a big project that excites you the most? Number 6, what is your biggest challenge right now? What have you, and then there's follow-up questions to that. What have you tried so far? What are you going to do next? By when? And then, what is your typical client or key contact? I didn't necessarily ask that for the sake of time. And the conversation didn't flow to that one. Sometimes it does. And then number 8 is, who is the most successful person you know? And with number 8, I'm looking to get an introduction. And this actually kicks in a whole nother system called the QRS, which is the quasi referral system. I've never gotten a referral from Mark. So what I'm going to do is, Kevin Lobo is on the list. I'm going to meet with Kevin Lobo, and then I'm going to report back to Mark, and I'm going to say, hey, listen, I met with Kevin. It was a great conversation. We did talk about you a little bit. You may want to follow up with him just to see how it went from his angle. Might be a reason for you to call. Here's the other thing, is I want you to know that I really appreciate that referral. Thank you so much for referring Kevin to me. And if there's anything else I can ever do, please let me know. So I'm going to take what is really an introduction or connection, and I'm going to start calling it a referral in our conversations from now on, which in their mind, they're already gone to referral, even though they've actually never referred me a buyer, seller, or investor. Other things on the follow-up is, I'm going to always invite them to an event. They may say no, they may say maybe, whatever it may be. They may, I'm going to make sure that my call to action for this call is an invitation to a future event that I'm having that they could go to. Another follow-up is, I'm going to buy the book Leadership and Self-Deception for Mark, and I'm going to send it to him. Here's the thing. The January call plus Amazon is a winner. So I'm going to then go to Amazon, and I'm going to send him a book on South France, Stevie. What's his first name? I want to say Roger Stevie, but that's not it. It's
Leadership and Self-Deception.
Well, there's that book, but I'm actually going to send him a travel guide for Italy, Sicily, and South France. And I think it's Roger Stevie, but it looks like Steve. gosh, what is his first name? I can't believe I can't remember his first name. I only order about 100 of his books a year. So it's the best travel guide out there, and he has it for safaris. He has it for everything. So anyway, so those are my follow-up pieces. Please notice I just spent $30 maybe at the most, but I also got a really great connection with the Kevin guy. And here's the last thing is many times I go through these questions and I say, any questions for me? And they go, how can I help you? Or what can I do for you, Michael? My answer is always, well, what do you think my answer always is? My answer is always referrals. And that's how we train and arm our army that the way to help us and the things they need to do for us are referrals.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Michael. I've known Mark for 30 plus years, and that was really an insightful interview. So I sentiment Ron's comments there. That thank you, Mark, for being transparent, and appreciate that. We do have a couple questions. Want to make sure I get the referrallibrary.com is where they can find the form.
That's correct.
All right. Great. Got some people looking for that. Brittany Villani, apologize if I didn't get that right. Who do you use the January call for? Clients, referral partners, someone else?
Yes. So it is networking leaders. It is ambassadors ambassadors are my top referral sources. They really are brand ambassadors for us. Champions, they are potential ambassadors. Champions are people who has ever referred us, introduced us, or connected us to at least one person. And then, it's going to be successful people, and what's beautiful about this is the more successful they are, the easier this conversation is, so I'm always, and the other part of it too is, you're basically 6 conversations away from Oprah. If you ask Mark for his most successful person, he's going to give you somebody more successful, Kevin or whoever, whatever. It might be a lateral move there. But the thing is then Kevin, I'm going to ask the same question to Kevin. Kevin's going to refer me up. That person's going to refer me up. That person's going to refer me up. And my hope is Oprah's at the end of the rainbow, So it's one of those where I'm always looking to meet and interview more successful people so that I can be more successful. So hope that helps.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Lisa asks, let's see here. Do you plan your follow-up around that January call? Key points become follow-up to check in throughout the remainder of the year. Very organic way of connecting and becoming a key success partner. Yeah.
So lots of things here. Yes, I'm going to follow up all year on this one call. And I'm not going to, here's the thing that I want to warn people that I used to do in the beginning. I used to do a year's of follow-up in 1 week. So I would send them the book, the guide, Google searches on recruiting and retention, which is, by the way, is a great follow-up, right? It's you can do recruiting and retention, an article, read 5 or 6 articles, send him the best one, and it would be right in his sweet spot. He would be really appreciative of that. And so you have all these great follow-up points. And honestly, the Google search would probably be one of my first. The leadership and self-deception would be very quick because I don't want him to order that before I do. So that's going to get to him next month. And then please notice that he said he's going on this trip in August. Well, this trip is not going to be top of mind for him until July. So after the July 4th, Independence Day, that book will get to him around July 15th. And then he'll have a chance to read it, look it over. And imagine this. Imagine if Mark and I had not talked from this moment till July, and he gets a book out of the blue in July that is about his trip that he's about to take in August. It's a surprise. It's a wow. And it's like, Maher listened. And I noticed that 90% of what I did during that call was listen and take notes.
Now, I teased a little bit in the intro about leveraging technology. How do you do that so that book gets delivered mid-July?
Yeah, so it's going to go into my Google Calendar, right? It's just a simple reminder. You can also do right here, right? Hey Siri, remind me in July to send a book on France and Italy to Mark.
As simple as that.
Just a moment. Okay, your reminder is set for July 1st, 2020.
There we go. So,
Love it.
and what's funny is I will get an update on July 1st, and she'll tell me to send something to Mark. So.
Michael, I just wanted to point out, you made that same appointment on my calendar, so thank you. Siri heard you.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Can I ask a quick question, Michael?
Ventriloquism is one of my special talents, obviously.
If you're face to face with the client,
Yeah.
how do you take the notes?
I just asked, here's the thing. There's a Chinese proverb. The faintest ink is greater than the greatest memory. So I will just ask permission to take notes. Is it okay? And in many of those cases, now I have these questions memorized, to be quite forthright with you, but I'm going to ask, do you mind if I take notes? Now, Mark, if I had said, do you mind if I take notes? What would you have said?
No problem.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If I had said, I'm going to take notes on this, you would have said, no problem. But what are you thinking about somebody who's about to take notes on your thoughts, your life?
What does he want this for?
Maybe, right? But what else?
He obviously cares enough to want to remember it. Yeah.
Cares enough to write it down. So I'm just going to ask permission to take notes. And I do that all the time. So.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, we want to give a shout out to the Anderson, Indiana Remax office. There's 15 or so agents out there, and they've got a couple of quick questions here. Rebecca Lowry asks, what happens if that January call bombs?
Would that be awesome? I mean, I have to tell you, I'm looking for bombs in my life. I'm looking for challenges. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like, I remember, why did I get out of real estate? I got out of real estate because it was boring. I know that sounds weird for people, but you got to realize when you are working 500 referrals a year, 200 listing appointments, and you walk in and the keys are on the table with the seller's disclosure already filled out, there's no challenge to that. There's no challenge. So the thing about it is, if it bombs, where's your heart? Is your heart trying to find information so that you can send stuff so that you can get referrals? Is that where your heart is? Or is your heart in genuine curiosity that you really want to find out a lot about them, and you don't know how the follow-up is? You don't know what the follow-up is. And if you send these things, you're okay with not getting referrals. See, I'm in the second group. So there is no bombing when people are talking about themselves. Nobody's ever going to introduce or interrupt you when they're talking. Think about that for a second. So the thing about it is just let them talk. Let them talk about, yes, I have had calls for other reasons where they're like, Adam left me. Right? So then guess what? We're not going to go through, hey, any trips or plans? It's much more like, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not an expert on any of that. I feel for you. I don't know how, I can't even comprehend where you're coming from, but I appreciate you. Anything I can do. And I'm just going to listen, And, if there is an action I can take, then I'm going to take an action. But in many cases, the action to take is just shut up and listen. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you limit the number of ambassadors on your list?
I mean, the answer is yes, it's 150. That's straight out of Professor Robin Dunbar's information from the UK. He's a UK sociologist. And, you know, he's determined that you really can't build more than 150 great relationships. So I can tell you that when I narrowed my focus down to 150 people, it was amazing how great those relationships were built. So yes, you want to limit, but the other thing too is there's no limit on how small that can be. It can be 5 people. It can be 33 people. It can be 50 people. It's not a number. It's not a number. It's a relationship. So just figure out in your phone who you want to have great relationship with. Narrow your focus this year on those people and just don't worry about anything else. Too many of these trainers and speakers are like, add 5 people to your database a day. What? You know, you're not going to be able to build 5 great new relationships a day. And here's the other thing, just go buy a 1 million person list if you just want to add people to your database. But what we really need to do is add 1 a week. Add 1 a week. That'd be 52 really good relationships. And trust me, you can conquer the world with 52 great relationships.
Here to that. We've got one last one in the queue, so feel free to jump into the queue. We've got plenty of signed books from Michael, so get those questions in.
Now, hold on, you're telling me that all they have to do is ask a question and they get a free book?
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Simple as that.
Greatest reward ever.
How about that? Raina asks, can he give some examples, we've been talking about this, but of what you would deem as generosity on a cold call to a realtor?
It's like, wow, you lost me at cold call. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, it's like, I don't have any. I mean, here's what I would be doing. And I feel uncomfortable doing this is I would now be going, here's what I would do if I did that. But that's the problem with all the other speakers and trainers in my book is they do say, if I did this, this is what I would do. But I can only tell you, and I'm going to speak from integrity, that this is something I am doing. I've done a lot of times. I've honed it. So the answer is like, I've got nothing for you. Here's what I would tell people is if you're thinking about making the cold call, do what you can to make it a warm call. Please notice that when I contact Kevin, it is a warm call. It's a cold relationship, but it is a warm call because Mark has warmed it up for me. This is the triangle of trust straight out of 7L. And in 7L, I go through 5 or 6 scenarios where I give you specific examples of how the triangle of trust works. So, I mean, could you imagine me going to Dave Ramsey? Dave Ramsey, please endorse my book. He's only endorsed 4 books in his life. Well, here's the deal. I have Dave Ramsey's endorsed. In fact, I've got Dave Ramsey's on my front cover of my book. And I will tell you that I got that because of the triangle of trust. Somebody I knew put my book in front of them and warmed up the introduction. Dave Ramsey read the book, sent me like 30 things to change. And of course I changed every single one of those. So it's one of those where, you know, I don't know. I'm not a believer in cold relationship. I'm not a believer in approaching a stranger. Like, didn't your mom tell you don't talk to strangers? Like, that's the best business advice ever, in my opinion. Nobody's a stranger if they've been referred, introduced, or connected. So, and here's the other thing, I'm going to dispel this myth. You're like, I know I'm going on a tirade here. By the way, my opinions don't necessarily represent the opinions and feelings of Maher First. So I'm just speaking from my heart. But it's one of those where it's like, warm up the introduction, warm up the connection. And I will tell you that, you know, mom said, don't talk to strangers. You should not talk to strangers. Okay, so here's the myth I want to dispel. People are always like, well, the people I don't know, there's more of them than the people I do know. Okay, so what? So what? Right? So here's the thing. How do you get to the people you don't know is the difference. The way to get to the people you don't know is through the people you know instead of direct. If you go direct, it might taint the relationship forever. But if you go indirect through the triangle of trust, then you're already on this basis of trust and warmth that you can build off of. If you're a jerk, it doesn't matter. I'm just throwing that out there. But if you're a loving, caring individual, guess what? The triangle of trust, your best friend.
Love it. Love it. We got a couple more
I don't
questions
know if I
here,
answered her question or not. So
we'll keep them rolling. I think you gave her some great ideas. Mike from Coast to Coast Title says or asks, do you follow the 80-20 rule with your ambassadors or give them all the same attention and follow-up?
All the same attention and follow-up. I'm not a believer in the 80-20 principle. Here we go again, right? I mean, it's like, I mean, if you're in real estate, you can't believe the Pareto principle, right? You can't, because 7% of the people are doing 93% of the transactions. So it's like, I mean, we blow that. I mean, if you look at your closet, people say, well, one of the, proofs of the Pareto principle is that, you wear 20% of what's in your closet, right? But the truth is you don't. I guarantee you the people on this call, you wear less than 10% of what's in your closet, and the rest of it is in there until Goodwill calls. So it's one of those where, I'm not a believer in the Pareto principle at all. I think it goes right back to this. What are the 5 things you should do? Are you telling me that you should do 20% of all the lead generation methods to get referrals or to get business? No way. I'm telling you, pick one and own it. Pick one and own it. I believe it's the 199 principle. And the 199 principle is don't worry about the 99%, focus on the 1%. And I'll tell you, here's the thing. Success is not a 180-degree turn. That's what everybody's out there like 180 degrees, 180 degrees, 100. Well, you're just going in circles. Success is a 1-degree tweak. 1 degree tweak. So that's the problem with people's goal. Everybody's like, I set a goal of doing 200 transactions this year. I'm so depressed. Yeah, because you can't do 200 transactions in 2 weeks. So you're like, I don't have any on the books. Okay, right? Don't worry about it. It's a 1-degree tweak. What can you do? What activity can you do? Just focus on what you can get done today.
That's some great stuff there. That speaks volumes with me, actually. So that's good. Crystal asks, if you don't make cold calls, and we think we talked about this a little bit, but how would your process work for someone starting out with a very small sphere? And what are your suggestions?
You mean like me? Like I didn't know anybody. I had less than 50 people I really knew. So, if people have read 7L, they've heard a little bit of this in there. But one of the first things I would do is a launch party. I would take, if I knew 50 people, I would take the 50, introduce them to a launch party or a happy hour, and I would just mingle, and I would pay for their first drink. And you're like, well, I don't have a lot of money. Well, trust me, that's not going to take you very much money. It's not. First of all, you're going to introduce or invite 50. 12 are going to show up. 12 times 5 is $60. So is it worth $60 to get and the thing is, it's not the happy hour that is the win. It's all the communication around the event that gets you the win. All the invitations, invite them several different ways. The event comes, even if they don't attend, they're still thinking about you. And then the follow-up is you're going to follow up with the people who attended, but you're also going to follow up with the people who didn't attend and just say, hey, listen, we missed you. Is it okay if I invite you to the next one that we do? So and then I would also be getting into networking, getting into business connection groups and join the Chamber of Commerce and getting into the networking nationwide is like the East Australian current in Finding Nemo. In Finding Nemo, you got turtles that can go 180 miles an hour. Well, how does a turtle, one of the slowest things in the world, go 100? Well, it's because of the current. And that's what happens is when you get into networking locally, everything speeds up. Your growth, your connections, the number of people. But I'm going to tell you, most of you are not ready for that. You would end up ruining a lot of those relationships. Learn how to build a relationship first and then get into that flow, into that stream.
That's a stop and pause for me right there, because I think a lot of people don't understand, to pour the foundation, you actually have to pour the foundation.
Mhm.
And the foundation is going to come through understanding how to connect with other humans. So I cannot emphasize that concept more than what you just said. That's a home run hit right there. It's a black belt move.
And here's the thing I love is that, ladies and gentlemen, be glad that you don't know that many people, because you would have ruined all those relationships. So just thank God. And some of you are new to an area. You need to thank God you're new to an area, because you can be anybody you want. And you're all professional realtors. So don't introduce yourself as any other thing as a professional realtor. And when people ask you what you do, don't go into this big giant speech. Just say, I'm a professional realtor. What do you do? And that's the greatest comeback ever to what do you do? And the thing I just have to say on that is that be glad that you now know how to build relationships. You want to build relationships to a 10 level. The generosity call, you will go from who the heck are you to referral to a referral, because it's all about them and it's all about generosity. And I'll tell you, you learn how to build a relationship to a 9-10 level, and the 9-10 level is the referral zone. When you have and just realize all a relationship is, that this is the point of the entire Zoom call. All a relationship is a value exchange. That's what a relationship is. It is a value exchange. It is a teeter-totter. And you need to imagine yourself on the bottom of this teeter-totter with a bag of gold. Well, guess what? Here's the thing. If you're just sitting there on a teeter-totter and there's no value given, how fun is that? Nobody's going, nobody's moving. It's a flat line, like your relationship with most of your database. But here's the deal. You have a bag of gold. Well, that's going to drop you on the teeter-totter. What we need to do with this bag of gold, the bag of gold is just a metaphor. You don't need a bag of gold to do this. You're going to throw that bag of gold to your ambassador. They're going to catch it. What happens to them? They go down, but what happens to you? You go up. You know what that person's going to do to stay in the game? They're going to throw that bag of gold back to you. And all of a sudden, you're on a teeter-totter and you're having a ton of fun. And if you don't know what a teeter-totter is, check out Google.
Well, that's great. That's great stuff. And I tell you guys, we're coming close to the hour here. And, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, we've got some live shows coming in California in March, May, and August. Tampa, Florida in April, August, December. We're back in Orlando where we were in November. Be this April, August, and December. Out in Indiana, April, July, and November. So if you can catch Michael live for 3 hours, it's really amazing. I know we've had a couple of people came to your big event down in Atlanta that I know just absolutely changed her world, and it's been amazing for the turnaround we've had. So. Did you have something to say, Michael? I
Always.
Like you were about to.
Always. I mean, I'm just tee me up, brother. I mean, here's the thing, right? Is that here's the deal. This could have been hit and run speaker, right? Michael comes in, flies in, speaks, leaves. No, here's the deal. Here's what AmeriFirst changed the game. They changed the game because it is a speaker series. It is a success series. So you're going to come to the first event and get phase 1. You're going to come to the second event and get phase 2. And you're going to come to the third event and you're going to get phase 3. And that way you're learning it over the series of phases. You're getting great education, entertainment, and that kind of thing at each of these. And this is going to be your best year ever. And why? Is because guess what? You're going to be learning how to maximize your referrals through this series of phases. I love the 3-event series. It's going to blow people away. And you know what? It makes me more committed to the area. I'm committed to California. I'm committed to Tampa. I'm committed to Orlando. I'm committed to Indianapolis, Kalamazoo, and Cincinnati, Ohio. So guess what? Let's rock and roll. Let's change lives. Let's kill the old way of doing sales, and let's do it with love, generosity, and appreciation. I'm in.
2020. Let's all be in. We're all winning. Hey, in the last few minutes here, I want to turn it back over to the panelists and see if there's any wrap-up questions. Dave, I know you haven't had a chance to really say much. I'm going to turn it over to you first. Dave, you're muted, I think.
There you go. Got it. Thanks, Craig. My goodness. I sit here and I try to take notes, and it's like, no. If I take time to take notes, I'm going to miss the next giant point. But no, I am, as I sat here, I'm thinking, and I know we've got these things coming up that we're going to be doing together, but it is about the value exchange. You tied it so nicely together with that. What can we do for you? I know we're doing these things, but what can we do for you? It's your turn. What can we do for you as we sit here today as a company? And what's out there that you would tell us we can do for you?
Referrals. The answer is referrals.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I'm always looking for opportunities to speak, and you're doing that. I think the biggest, most powerful thing is let's change the way the game is played, not by 180 degrees, but 1 degree. Let's build these relationships on love, generosity, and appreciation. You guys are already doing it. We need to shine the spotlight on that. And I think that's listen, we're on the right side of history here. You know, we're on the right side of history. Cold calling is dead. It is. I said it. I know that's not Maher first saying that. Please don't send him a bunch of hate mail. You can send it to me at P.O. Box, I don't ever read this.com. But here's the thing is it's going away. What? Do not call. They're starting to enforce it in real estate. There's do not knock now. Like in New Jersey, there's a do not knock list. And many of you are clamoring to go do not knock so that people don't knock on your door. And here's the thing, go look at your office. You go into your office, there's a sign on the front door. Besides the logo sign, there's a sign that says no soliciting. Your office doesn't even want you soliciting to them. So I think the big thing is that the right side of this is that referrals, word of mouth, people making choices on their own is going to be the way, right? And of course I'm passionate about this. I am. So thank you for asking. It's referrals. The answer is always referrals.
Yeah. Thank you. God bless you, man.
Yeah, your passion is very clear. Thank you. Mark?
You know, we're at the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to be quick about this. Michael, one of the things that, as I've gotten to know you, I really sincerely appreciate about you is in both our industry, the real estate and the finance industry, everybody's looking for the silver bullet, the magic bullet, the get rich quick thing. And you say it time and time again without saying it directly, there's no quick fix. This is a very deliberative, very tortoise wins the race kind of a thing, and it's sustainable. That's the other thing. It's hard work, it's repetitive, but in the end you create the kind of relationships you need to create the sustainability that's going to make fantastic careers in both sides of the aisle, the real estate and the mortgage side. So thank you so much.
You know, it's my pleasure. And I also want people to know that you may get a referral today implementing the generosity call, the January call. I have made this call. We've had lots of people who brand new to our system who made the generosity call and got a referral. So it could happen quickly. But the thing is you got to be ready to implement this daily, implement this consistently, like Mark said. But also, you know, they say that you can lead a horse to drink or a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. There's an old adage in real estate that, you know, you can lead a realtor to knowledge, but you can't make them think.